Jupiter, eh? The biggest planet in our solar system, a gas giant. Maybe that's all you've heard about Jupiter, but you're wondering what it means in the context of an astrology chart. So I made this video to fill you in. Okay, let's kick this off with the short answer if that's all you're after. So here it is. Your Jupiter placement can represent your capacity to grow and expand beyond just the simple and the mundane. It can show ways in which you are lucky, and it can show areas in which you express wisdom. So that's it, there's your short answer. But of course, there's so much more to it, so stick around for the longer answer. Alright, Jupiter is the Roman name for the same archetype that's expressed in the Greek Zeus. So of course that's the king of the gods. Guy with a huge big long beard, flinging thunderbolts about. And a big part of this role for Jupiter was in being responsible for the measurement of justice. Of course, as the king of the gods, he was the ultimate authority. He was the one who made the decisions when it came to these things, the adjudicating and so on. Because of this, Jupiter placements can show our relationship with the ideas of laws, and also how do we understand the higher and deeper meanings of those laws. So I've got an example here for you. So jaywalking, right? So those of you watching who are in the USA will be familiar. I honestly don't know because here in the UK we don't have any such laws about jaywalking whatsoever. So for me it's kind of like dumb to think about, if you want to cross the road, you just cross the road or whatever. But then if you start thinking about it a little bit more, you can think about how, well, if you were to be in an accident, maybe it's not just about you, because maybe you're thinking it should be up to the risk of the individual if they are fine taking that risk and they can just walk across. But you think about the psychological impact it might have on someone, the person who hits you, maybe that would ruin them, and then of course that maybe someone doesn't see or hear a car, maybe they've got headphones, maybe it's dark, whatever it is, they take a risk, maybe they don't look for whatever, maybe they hear something, they look that way, they don't see a car, whatever, they take a risk and they die. So unpacking all these other deeper and more philosophical reasons that you might have for a law is a very Jupiterian process. So Mercury is like the planet of knowing things and information, and Jupiter is the planet of understanding, right? So Mercury is about gathering knowledge and Jupiter is about harvesting wisdom. So then your Jupiter placement can show a lot about your relationship to philosophy, right? So that how does your moral compass guide your development and guide your actions in this life? One aspect of this idea of Jupiter dishing out justice and laws like he's Judge Judy or whatever, is that he's got a little bit of a Santa Claus vibe, and not just because of the big white beard, right? It's if you do good, you will be rewarded, right? And Jupiter in astrology, thankfully, is usually seen as the single most benevolent planet there is. And classical astrologers refer to Jupiter as the greater benefic, right? So just basically the bringer of good news, right? So it's we mostly get the good side of Jupiter. So because of that, it basically means he's only giving out presents. He's not giving out lumps of coal for the most part, right? So where Jupiter is in your chart can be where he is showering you with gifts. So in the natal chart, your Jupiter placement can show areas where you're especially lucky, usually by house more than sign. And as a transit as well, this is interesting that you can see transiting Jupiter when you put it across your chart. It can show where you'll be getting an extra dose of luck for that year. Jupiter transits usually spend about a year in every sign, and therefore normally in every house and so on. So as I say, the kind of bringer of good luck. You can see a Jupiter transit as basically Santa riding around in his sleigh around the zodiac every 12 years. The reason that I said much more by house than by sign is because as we start to come out from the sun and kind of head out into the outer solar system, we start to get away from things being less personal, and they start to be more generational, kind of at this kind of stage. So one of the other ways that this can come up in a natal chart is with Jupiter is through aspects, right? So any planet or configuration where Jupiter is connected is going to feel the effect of being linked to the biggest motherfucker in the whole solar system, except the sun. So not really the biggest motherfucker, but you know exactly what I'm saying. So now I've said that, and I've even swore because he's so big. Let's just consider for a second just how big the physical astronomical Jupiter is. Jupiter is 11 times wider than the Earth. So consider the whole around the world in 80 days. If you're going that around Jupiter, it would take you 800 and 80 days. So like obviously a living time, I don't even know. This probably doesn't work like that. It's probably much more complicated. But just in terms of physics size, it's like incomprehensibly big, like Jupiter. Anything that Jupiter touches then in aspect in a chart is going to be magnified, whatever it is. Of course, that can be both a good thing and a bad thing. So in my example, I've got my sun is in Capricorn, I've got Jupiter is opposite in Cancer. So often this opposition comes out in a way that my ambition can sometimes get the better of me. Like I set unrealistic targets, basically, that in the moment I fully intend to meet those targets. I don't think that they're unrealistic at all. But then of course I fail to meet them, and then I feel like shit because my Capricorn sun wants to achieve things. And then if I set this target and I don't achieve it, I blame myself rather than blaming Jupiter, right? But however, that's an example of a hard aspect with Jupiter. But if you've got a more harmonious aspect like a trine or a sextile between Jupiter and one other planet in your chart, it's much more likely to signify that that aspect will bring out the best qualities of that planet and make them shine all the brighter and emphasize the gifts that are within that planet. So one last thing I want to say about Jupiter, and it's linked to your favorite part of the video so far, that is the whole Santa Claus thing. And it's about generosity, right? So this is also linked to the idea of philosophy that I was mentioning earlier, and to Jupiter being the greater benefic of astrology, in that your Jupiter placement can show you areas where you are generous with your time, right? Think about it that way. If you've got 6th house Jupiter, it's maybe that you'll go above and beyond when helping people do the boring stuff, or maybe not even helping people, maybe just like in your own life, but you spend the time doing the boring stuff. That's what the 6th house really represents. The cleaning of the shower, which you have to do all the bloody time and takes forever and it's never really clean. These kind of things will be things that if you've got 6th house Jupiter, maybe that you just naturally you're more generous with your time in that area. Or perhaps if you've got Jupiter in the 10th house, it could be that your career is in some way related to being generous in general. Maybe you found a charity, maybe you fund charity, maybe you work with, or whatever it is, that in some way your public persona and what you give to the world is lots of your time. And then you can be the Santa Claus, the Jupiterian Santa Claus, right? So maybe it just could be you found a way to make a benevolent Jupiterian force like your literal business, which is covered by 10th house. So let me know in the comments where your Jupiter placement is, and where you think that you are most generous with your time and how that relates. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on Jupiter in the context of an astrology chart. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more of these astrology videos, if you want more of them that you can watch, let me know by hitting the like button and the subscribe button. And if you want to go one step further, let the algorithm know that I am the best by leaving me a little comment. You can say whatever you like. It all counts. All right. Thanks for checking me out, and I'll see you later.